What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and in this interview with 25-year-old bodybuilding phenom Martin Fitzwater, we cover a range of topics all the way from training with Keone Pearson, being coached by Branch Warren, and his beef with Nick Walker. Plus, we review his 2021 bodybuilding season and cover what he's doing in 2022. Hope you guys enjoy this interview. What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and today I'm joined by Martin Fitzwater, who's competing this year. He made his pro debut last year and looked fantastic, and I can't wait to see what you do this year. Mate, how you doing?
Good, man. How about yourself? Thanks for having me on.
Mate, I'm very well, and I can't wait to actually speak to you because I sort of saw you in the lead up to sort of last year and making your pro debut, and I was like shocked because you're only, how old are you now?
I'm only 25, man. Just a young pup.
Super young, and obviously there's a huge amount of hype obviously coming out of that Armburst Pro gym, because obviously everyone knows Phil Heath came out of that gym, and obviously yourself and Brett Wilkin, and you both have sort of transitioned away from that gym right now. But it's cool seeing you guys succeed and do what you guys are doing. But how did you feel about, I suppose, your contest season last year and your debut year?
It was kind of 50-50 for me. I'm a perfectionist, so obviously not doing as well as I wanted to. I didn't really go into the shows expecting to win. Being 24, being the new kid on the scene, it's very difficult to win your pro debut. So obviously that's what I was gunning for. That's what we wanted. But more than anything, I would just say that I wasn't where I wanted to be, or the condition that I know that I can bring. So that was kind of the downside for me, I guess. But the upside was that even bringing that, I'd say 85% Martin, I had 2 top 5 finishes. So I did the Texas Pro and I got 4th, losing to Ian, Steve Kuklo, and Phil Kahar. And then I continued. I had a health phase and everything came back really quickly. So I decided to kind of sneak into Legion Sports Festival and just kind of try to redeem myself, which I brought myself in about, I coached myself last year too. I don't know if I had said that.
It's pretty rare
So
these
I brought
days.
myself, yeah. So I brought myself in about 6-7 pounds lighter for Legion. I just really messed up the peak. I took a little bit too much diuretic, getting excited, wanting to be really dry. And in doing so, I flattened myself out. And so that put me in 5th place behind, obviously, all Olympians again. The guys that beat me was Sean Clarita, Regan, Sergio, and Tonio.
Yeah.
And they're all top level guys, So I, in doing that, I was still happy knowing that I can hang with those guys. But it gave me a chip on my shoulder, knowing like I would have brought a good package. I could have really been a top guy, maybe even pulled off a win at a show. Nothing against Sean Clarita, but me having 30 pounds of muscle on him, I should be able to beat him. So
Yeah, and I'm sure
so,
Regan and Sergio felt that same way at the Legion as well.
yeah. No, I mean, anyone in the open feels that way, right? And rightfully so, though, man. We walked off stage after prejudging, and I knuckle bumped Sean, and I told him, I said, "Man, you won this." So, he killed it, man. He definitely giant killed us all. But so yeah, it was 50-50 for me, man. It was exciting. It was good to know. I took a lot of notes and really focused on knowing my body so that I could come back better. And that's exactly what I'm going to do this year. So like I was telling you off air, I came to Texas. Most people know I've moved to Texas by now. I train with Keone every day, which is I wouldn't say anyone could replace Brett, but if I could replace Brett, it's about the best replacement I could get.
Yeah.
And so I train with him every day. Branch Warren is my coach. And then Brian Dobson also trains me just like he trained Branch and Ronnie. So I have a cool corner, man, and this year's is going to be a little bit different.
That's so cool. Now, I want to touch on a few things that you just mentioned about the Legion as well. You mentioned, obviously, you used, you said you overused probably diuretics at that show, and obviously you were coaching yourself as well, because I know myself, because I pretty much always coached myself just in my comps as well. You sort of get to that last stage, especially early on in your career, and you go, I can do more. I can push it harder. I can get drier and all that sort of stuff. Was that your sort of mindset? And what did it actually do to your physique? Did it flatten it out and make you look softer, or what did it exactly do?
That's exactly what it did, man. So I was already pushing super, super hard into it because I wanted to be super conditioned. And in doing so, I just needed to eat. I wasn't pushing food super hard. So I only gave myself like 400 carbs to carb up the day before, when I could probably handle like 1,000 because I was that depleted. But that morning, I actually woke up really, really nicely for prejudging morning. I was super, super dry. I was just a tad flat. And if I would have ate a huge meal and just chilled, I would have been perfect. But honest to God, I really think that once I got dehydrated, my mind just started playing crazy tricks on me. Like, I went back and watched the YouTube film, and I'm like, oh, I would have called this shot and this shot and this shot, and I would have wound up like crisp on stage. But in my head, I like woke up that morning and I looked in the mirror and I watched that same video that I've watched 1,000 times now. And I was like, oh, you could be so much drier. There's just a film of water. And instead it was like flat, like you obviously flat, like you blatantly obvious. But I was just so depleted and so ran down, like you said, that you just kind of was like, well, and then as I let it go, because I didn't eat, I just was like, oh, I can get this little film of water off, so I'll just chill, do a little bit of protein. And when I did, then obviously I continued to excrete, and it was just pulling all the pop out of the muscle. So detail was just leaving slowly. So then after prejudging, I kind of had a realization. So I went and drank like 16 ounces of water, and then I didn't eat a lot of carbs. I only had like 50 carbs, but I think it helped pull enough back into the muscle that I came back for finals just a touch fuller, that made me look like I wasn't watery anymore.
Yep.
And so that helped solidify my 5th place, I think. But yeah, man, if I would have had a coach, honestly, I really think I would have been able to fight with Sean, because like 2 days later, I sent Chris Comier pictures after I just kind of eaten junk for a couple days, and I looked nutty. I had like my glutes get like Ronnie's, where they get really striated, like all the way at the top into the low back. Oh. And so when I filled back out, like I had even lines right there, and Chris was like, man, you messed up. You look like incredible. You're an idiot. I don't know what you did at Legion. So it was kind of one of those things where it was like I said, it was a lot of good was taken away from it, but it was like, well, that season was a wash a little bit.
But even still, like you placed, like you said, top 5 in the 2 shows you did. And man, honestly, like I thought you improved at the Legion as well. I thought you looked considerably better. And the fact was, like, you placed behind, at Texas, 3 top competitors that were really battling it out. And when you think about it, Ian Valier's finishing 7th in Olympia, and you got Steve and also Phil that were sort of battling it really with Ian as well. So, and you're just right behind them. So the fact that you weren't at your best, if you do bring your best this year with a little bit of added tissue, that I think you're going to be very dangerous, man, on the pro scene. And obviously now, like you said, you're training with Keone Pearson, and obviously Branch Warren is your coach, which I didn't even know about. I thought it was like a mentor type role, and that's sort of all it was. But let me know a little bit about Branch Warren. I saw a video the other day of, I think Keone maybe was spotting you, and Branch was like screaming in your face, telling you to sort of keep going and all that sort of stuff. So that's obviously got to be a massive motivator. But how's it like with Branch Warren as your coach? And how did it happen?
Man, honestly, it kind of just transpired that we got so close. So I moved to Texas kind of for Branch, kind of for Gasp. So I'm here in Dallas. This is where their headquarters is based for Gasp and Better Bodies. And obviously Branch has been with them forever and ever. So he's a big part of the company. I go in almost every morning and see Branch on a regular basis. And that's kind of how things kicked off. He was excited for me to come down. And then as we spent a lot of time together, he realized like I'm just a country boy just like him. I grew up hunting and fishing, grew up on a ranch just like he did. So we have like a ton in common. So now I go over to his house every Sunday for dinner. We really kindled a good relationship. And in that, he was my mentor. But we got to sit down and talk a lot. And I was kind of like, well, who do we trust to help me with my nutrition? You know, should I go with George, like you worked with George, or should we do something where it's just you and I? Because Branch coached himself most of his career. I don't know if most people know that or not, but really only at the end did George help him. And then otherwise he did it himself. So I have a lot of faith in Branch. I know he knows how to get conditioned, and really outside of that, I don't need much help. That's what I needed last year, was just to be in condition, and I would have done a lot better. So I told Branch, I said, hey, if you're willing to and you have the time to, I'd love to have you take over the reins. And, you know, that way you can see me in person on a regular basis and stuff. And it was kind of something that he really took to heart, and I think he really appreciated and wants to be a big part of. So he controls the diet. I go over on Sundays, I pose, we eat. He sits down and writes my diet up, and we get things going. So we've been doing that the past couple of weeks. And before that, he had my off season written up for me. So I did the full off season with Branch here. And then I'll do this full prep with him. And things are going as good as they can, man. He didn't change a ton from what I was doing before. I really idolized those guys in the early 2000s. And so I based my diet very similarly to them. I was a high protein, high carb guy. I always kind of kept my fats low. So that kind of fit right into the mix with how Branch is running everything for me. Realistically, he added one more meal of protein, and then he just bumped my protein portions from 8 to 10. They were at 10 before, and I pulled them back. But he wanted them back up there again. And then other than that, we're also bridging meals with aminos right now. So that's kind of something new that I haven't done, but I know that it's kind of common amongst the early 2000s guys. It's the idea is to keep you in protein synthesis constantly by just always having those amino acids. So when you're not eating protein, you're sipping on aminos. But other than that, man, not much has changed. My training style was always that kind of wild and crazy. It was a little bit more top set when I trained with Brett. Now that I'm here in Texas, I've really enjoyed the volume and doing a little bit more wild and crazy, but I'm not as wild and crazy as Branch, I would say. But yeah, man, I love it. Training here is the best. Colorado was fun, but there ain't nothing like training in Texas when you lose 7-10 pounds a training session. We trained legs on Tuesday, and I lost 9 pounds. I think I was down about 4 pounds from my morning weight after the training session. Wow. So
how do you compensate that? Do you do like electrolytes or anything, or?
Yeah, so every day I drink a large Pedialyte, and then I'm drinking upwards of 2 gallons every single day. So I drink about a gallon before I train, and then I drink a full gallon every day after I train, for sure. A little bit more, actually.
Yeah. Now, how do you, like, obviously Branch Warren is a hardworking dude. You're obviously a young guy in the sport. How do you earn the respect of a guy like Branch Warren? Because he seems like a guy that you sort of, in a way, you need to earn his respect, but it seems like obviously you've earned that and you've become almost like a really close friend, mentor, coach sort of relationship with him.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things I think Branch holds really close to his heart. One is hard work. So the first chip that I got to get on my shoulder was the first time I trained with Branch, and he just tried to bury me. Like, I knew that his goal was to make sure that I couldn't walk out of the gym. We actually trained shoulders, and I still had to fight back puking the whole time because I could just tell his goal was to beat me into the ground. And when it wasn't working, he just would add a superset. He would add this, he would add that. And when we got done, he kind of gave me a nod and he was like, all right, you're one of the good ones.
That's
He said,
awesome.
you know,
I knew that as well. It's like an initiation sort of thing.
yeah, man, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, all right, you can handle it. And then, you know, I obviously I've trained with him a couple more times, and I think that earned a lot of respect. But I think probably the biggest thing recently in the last 4 or 5 months is training with Brian Dobson. I've been over there at the original Metroflex. I train legs and we train back with Brian. And I know that we've had some sessions over there that I know Brian has called Branch and told him just how hard we worked, and what kind of session he put us through. And that we keep coming back week after week. And I think that probably earned the most respect out of anything, because nobody understands except for the people that have gone through a Brian Dobson workout. But if you're willing to come back for a second one, you're pretty fucking tough. Excuse my language, but there's just something about it, man. You know, he killed Ronnie for years, and he tries to put us through the ringer just like he did Ronnie, and it works, man. But I think that's probably what really solidified that I was one of the hardworking boys, and I think because of that, then that made us real close. And now, you know, obviously we got close. We've been hunting together now.
I was literally about to ask you that.
Yeah. So that's the next step for us. We've been hunting and stuff together. And we traveled, you know, we got to go to Sweden recently. I don't know if you saw that on my Instagram. But so we made a big trip. We were in Sweden for 2 weeks together. And that was really cool because we got to train, and, you know, I got to hear stories about him traveling the world and stuff, and just learning and experiencing that, and kind of, you know, having his guidance has been one of the best things, you know, in navigating this bodybuilding world on what's the best way to make money, what's the best way to make fans and relationships and all of that. That's kind of how it started, you know. That's where I really wanted this help, and then it just transpired into pretty much being Branch 2.0, I guess, if you will.
It's really cool because Branch is obviously a great mentor for I suppose anyone in bodybuilding right now, because he's got the hard work, the hard work ethic, I guess you'd say, where he, you know, leads by example or led by example during his career. So whatever he tells you to do, you know, he's already done it. And also business wise, I've heard, but he does really, really well as well. And same as Brian Dobson, you know, he's obviously saw Ronnie Coleman come up and trained him, and then he's obviously done well business-wise as well, franchising that Metroflex gym as well. So you're surrounded by, and obviously as well, being sponsored by Gasp and training in Destination Dallas as well, you're surrounded by guys that have really excelled in whatever they're doing. So I think that's really, really cool for you. And so I suppose it sets a great example in terms of not just your bodybuilding, but also in terms of making money and making a real career out of it as well. So have you learned a lot from these guys, not just in terms of obviously being the best bodybuilder you can be, but also business wise?
Yeah, man, honestly, that was the biggest driving factor for my decision for Texas. So I was just ready to leave Denver. I just wasn't happy there, and I was ready to get out. So I was actually debating between Vegas and Texas. You know, both are huge bodybuilding communities, both have huge opportunities. It would have been like training with Milos, or down here, people that I'm training with, you know, something like that. And I couldn't be happier with the decision I made. You know, Michael, the owner of Gasp, Branch, owning Wicked Cuts and having his merchandise and everything that he's done in bodybuilding, and Brian having the gyms and franchise and all that, and actually learning a lot about show promotion as well. Brian Dobson does Ronnie Coleman's show. He does helps with Branch's shows, and then Branch has 3 or 4 shows. So I got to get involved with that this year. The amount of business I've learned in the last year trumps the last 3 or 4 years, honestly. And like I said, that was why I came here, because I knew that these people were willing to not only help me become a better bodybuilder, but make a living outside of bodybuilding, have a successful business outside of bodybuilding. You know, Branch owns a jerky company, and a beef jerky company. And they're in every gas station essentially in America pretty much. And they're about to sign a couple more big deals to where that company will be worth who knows how much money. So the amount of business that I get to learn, gas, I got to go to Sweden. I got to go to the headquarters. I get to be involved in almost every step of designing clothes now, and picking what comes next and what us athletes want to see for the customers. So man, it's incredible, honestly. Like this has been a level up for me, and especially making it see that you can make millions at this if you do it right. It's not necessarily from winning shows, but there's ways to make millions. One of the coolest things I heard from Branch was that when he was at the top of his career, I think he said his worst year was more than $500,000.
Wow,
So that goes
awesome.
to show you that if you travel, you shake hands, you're really good to your fans, and you're a good guy, that the right people will take care of you and you can make a lot of money in this sport. So it's pretty cool, man. And I've tried to surround myself with those people, tried to imitate those people. And I'm just having a blast now, just having fun and enjoying the ride, because I think that I got a long, good stretch ahead of me at least.
For sure. Now, obviously, you're only 24 years of age right now. Everything that's gone on in bodybuilding the past, 1 to 2 years with all the, I suppose, health issues. We see, just Giles Tiger Thomas, who from muscular development just had a heart attack, and there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. Do you take that into account at your young age, or is that sort of just at the very back of your mind at the moment?
It's kind of 50-50. So I am 25 now, which is not nothing, it's very young.
Yeah.
But I look at it like this, man. I see Jay and I see Branch and I see Milos and I see all these guys very, very healthy. There's a way to do this healthy.
Yeah.
But there's some things that I think a lot of bodybuilders need to know. And that one of them is when your body tells you to be done, it's time to be done. A lot of these guys that have had or did pass away had prior events, had other health problems, and I think that that's something that we need to address. If you are struggling, if you do have those things, bodybuilding isn't as important as your life, so you need to take those things way more seriously than chasing a sport. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing. Branch and I had a long talk about this. I wouldn't say I was ever scared or that it ever really bothered me, because I love bodybuilding with all my heart. I have 2 addictive parents that struggle with addiction. I kind of had that same behavior, and I probably would have been a drunk or an addict or in jail or something if it wasn't for bodybuilding. So me personally, no, it doesn't bother me at all. But sitting down and talking with Branch and asking him what he thought, his biggest advice to me was, there will come a point in time when your body tells you to be done and you need to listen. And I think that that's kind of the take home for me, at least. There's a lot of these guys didn't listen. Giles, that's not one. Him, that's a freak accident. But I think that those things do happen, and no matter what, whether you're work construction or whether you bodybuild. So we do have to take that into consideration too, that there is events that happen. But you got to take care of yourself. You got to get your blood work done. You can't be trying to look through a microscope. You need to look through things at a big picture and really know, what you're capable of and what you need to be doing to take care of yourself. But at the end of the day, I think most of us need bodybuilding, or this is the path that we are inevitably have chosen. So I don't think that any of us should really be scared. It's just something that we have to be smart about.
Yeah. And like you mentioned as well, that's the aspect, because everyone sort of, went through that stage of being very doom and gloom on bodybuilding and, it's going to kill you, all that sort of stuff. But in many cases, bodybuilding has saved many people's lives, like you said, with addiction and stuff. people are putting their addictive personalities into bodybuilding, which a lot of the time is a lot better than going down the road of, you know, drugs and alcohol and all that sort of stuff that may kill you much quicker. And there's no real positivity. There's nothing really coming out of it, and it will sort of send you broke, rather than, you know, what you're doing in bodybuilding now might actually make you a lot of money and, you know, be able to support a future family and all that sort of stuff. So I think sometimes we focus a little bit on the negative aspect of bodybuilding and what it might do health wise, and don't focus on the actual positive. So I like that you actually pointed that out and made a point of that as well. And it seems like as well, Keone Pearson, who you're training with now, who's obviously done amazingly well in the 212 and classic physique, he's sort of spoke about retiring at a pretty young age. You know, I don't know if he was saying early 30s or whenever it was, but he's saying he's thought about retiring. Have you had these same conversations with him as well?
Yeah, you know, we've talked about it, and we kind of have different feelings about it. So one thing is Keone fell in love with bodybuilding a little bit later on in life. And I do feel that Keone feels more about bodybuilding as a career and a passion. To me, it's just a passion. I would do this if I made $0. And I don't really look at it to make money. Branch has definitely opened my eyes and told me to stop being so dumb, and that I can make money, so to stop acting like that. But so we differ in that aspect, but we've spoken about it a lot. And I think for him that's a personal decision that he really feels is best for his mental state and what he wants to do with his life. So, you know, like I said, for me, if I didn't have bodybuilding, I'd have to have something else that I was completely full tilt, all in, all about. So, you know, for me to step away, I'm going to have to be something like Branch, where I have a big business that makes lots of money, and I have to be on my game and be on top of it. And, you know, Keone, he dreams, he'd like to own a gym and, kind of have probably more of a little bit relaxed lifestyle. But I know that if I did that, I'd probably slip into a lifestyle that I don't need to have. Like I said, you know, and I don't know, I don't struggle with any of those things now that I have bodybuilding. It's such a passion for me, and I love it so much that I'm straight and narrow, and this is what I love. You know, besides smoking weed for bodybuilding, essentially, I don't do anything, but that's because I love bodybuilding, and I know that I can be really, really good at this. So for me, retirement is going to be whenever my body says it's time to retire, kind of like Branch said. But I do think for Keone, I think he'll call it before then. But I also think that as he gets more successful, as he has this better corner around him, and as he starts to fall more in love with bodybuilding just for the passion of bodybuilding, which I've seen happen a lot with us training together, I think that mentality will start to change a little bit, honestly. I've even seen it, like I said, in the last 6 months. Keone's having the most fun he's probably ever had in bodybuilding. We go in and we train, man. We have a blast doing it. Some days we never say a word to each other. And we know exactly what we're going to do. We know exactly how the session's going to go. We know almost exactly how many reps each one of us is going to get. So it's just been so much fun, man. And when we have bad days and we need somebody to lean on, you know, I'm a text away for him and he's a text away for me. So that's been even better. You know, us young guys sometimes are to, you know, you feel like there's a lot of pressure, especially, you know, guys like him and myself, where we want to be super successful at this and have the potential, or everybody's told us that we have the potential to be great at this. It's nice to have another guy that understands and can lean on, you know. So I think with those factors, I think you might see Keone say, you know, maybe 35, maybe 40 as time goes on. So, you know, I wouldn't say that he's locked in stone, but as of right now, he does talk about it at doing it a little bit younger.
Well, Jay Cutler did the same thing. I mean, I remember him saying he's going to retire at, I think it was 32 or 33 or something like that. And he extended out to, I think, late 30s. So I think once you sort of get to that point where you're almost there, or you're right there and you're winning titles, I think it's very hard to sort of give it up, because you, I suppose, find that passion again, like you mentioned. But I wanted to ask as well about, obviously, we saw some things go down on social media between you and Nick Walker a little bit ago, and you can comment on it or not comment, whatever you want, where you actually put out an apology. But if you did go on to say something like that, you're saying you don't like Nick as a person or something along those lines. I don't want to misquote you. Has there been any, I suppose, one event that sort of led to that, or like what sort of went down between you and Nick, if you want to disclose any of that or not?
Yeah, no, man. I mean, I don't want to go too much into detail. Like, we've kind of had our issues over the years. So we competed against each other at North Americans. We've both just kind of had low blows at each other and stuff. And, just personality wise, we just kind of clash.
Sure.
Honestly, like, it's probably a little bit childish of me, and a little bit childish of him, honestly. Like, the comment thing was way blown out of proportion, man. I was in Sweden for 2 weeks on low sleep, and that's no excuse for what I said. But I did apologize for it, and I didn't mean that. It was nothing like that. I should have said something stupid like, thanks for picking on me for being smaller than you, or something like that. It was just, I just blew up and had a fit, and we all do that. But social media will really hang you when you do it. So it's something that, it was a good lesson for me. It was a good slap to the face. To be honest, I mean, even Axe and Sledge dropped me because of it. So,
Wow.
that's something I haven't talked about, but that was something that happened because of everything that went down online. And, it's something that I, just try to disclose. I don't care to talk about it too much, but, it was something that it was a good lesson learned. It was something that I, keep my mouth shut and, kind of think before you speak type of thing. But I'd say that, Nick and I it's just bodybuilders being bodybuilders, if you will.
Yeah.
We're both guys that have potential to be Mr. Olympia someday. We're both very young. And we both kind of always clashed heads because I think we both see each other as competition. I respect the hell out of Nick. I think he's one of the best bodybuilders we have in the world right now. That being said, my plan is to become a better bodybuilder than him. So, each to their own. I don't want to have any issues with Nick or anything like that anymore. I just like to put my nose down, keep my head in Texas here in the heat, and show everybody what I can do this year. And then people can talk about us competing against each other or this and that. Right now, I'm not in his league, to be honest with you. He did some very big things last year, and I just have something that I need to prove. So until then, each to their own, and good on Nick, keep doing his thing, and I wish him the best, man. And outside of that, like I said, I got a lot to prove this year. Make sure that I'm not running my mouth. I'm just doing what I said I was going to do.
Yeah. And back in the day, I mean, like you said, with social media, people get absolutely hung for the comments they make. And it happened to you, man. I know you said that your inbox absolutely blew up and people were really hating on you for the comments that you made. And I said to someone when I was talking about this, I said, back in the day, people would go and punch people in the face and go to the gym in Venice. And it would, because there's no social media, it wouldn't sort of get out. So I think a lot worse used to happen and people used to get away with a lot more. But obviously nowadays, everyone's watching and everyone's looking for a story. And obviously, man, what I do, my bodybuilding news channel. So it's like when you see news come up, it's hard not to report on it because people are interested in it. So it's sort of the nature of a beast, unfortunately, these days now. I actually haven't upgraded my Zoom premium, so I've only got 2 minutes on this one. But man, let us know where you're going to be competing this year and what you got planned.
Yeah, guys. So, I'm going to be doing the Texas Pro. I also applied for the Arnold UK. That's a big step for me. I have a lot of fans in Europe, especially because of gas. So if I get accepted to that, it's a big travel for me. I'd love to get over there and see everybody. And otherwise, the Texas Pro is my main focus. I just have a lot to prove this year, like I said. And, I'll be coming with everything I got. So just be looking for me.
Awesome, man. Cannot wait to see how you do in 2022. I'm very excited to see the new and improved Martin Fitzwater. But mate, I want to encourage everyone, jump over to Martin's Instagram page as well. You'll be able to see the link in the description below and also at the bottom of this video as well. And that's it for myself, Xavier Wills and Martin Fitzwater. We are out. Hope you guys enjoyed my interview with 25-year-old IFBB pro bodybuilding phenom Martin Fitzwater. And if you guys did enjoy this interview, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, including interviews like this, bodybuilding news, contest coverage, plus much more. So make sure you do subscribe. Also head to hdmuscle.com, enter the code desktop. You'll save yourself 10% on some amazing supplements. And if there are specials on there already, you'll save yourself an additional 10% as well. Plus, if you order over a certain amount, you get free shipping. Just check out their products. They are next level. They also have apparel and all that sort of stuff on there as well. By supporting them, you're supporting me at Desktop Bodybuilding. So that's it for this video. For Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, and also Martin Fitzwater, we are out.